you know, I can't imagine that they've had much experience in the competitive arena just because of that region difference.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Tyranitar being banned out now. Okay, look, I have many words about Tyranitar.
Okay, go ahead.
You go first because I'm gonna take forever. Please.
Okay, so like Tyranitar right now is not a Pokemon that is being used a lot or being banned a lot before the patch, because the patch dropped midweek before the LCQ, right?
Oh.
And then, but at the very least, right, Elevate, one of the teams that were actually qualified, right, was using it on the PH qualifier. So, you know, we already see a bit of a potential. And then we saw the patch that actually buffed up the Tyranitar. And now we're seeing almost everyone using Tyranitar. So it really makes sense that they're going to be banning into Tyranitar because it's really strong right now.
Absolutely. But you know, JJ, I did a bit of research and I found out the actual spelling of Tyranitar. You ready to hear it?
Go ahead.
Placebo. Placebo. It's a classic. You get a nice little few buffs in the patch, then you're thinking, oh, I'm the new king of the jungle. I'm ready to crack. Look, no disrespect. I'm sure Tyranitar, he does a good job against opponents with high defenses and shields. That's what all the piercing damage is for. But against the current meta game of very early focus picks that we're already seeing, snatching up the Leafeon, the ban out of the Zeraora, and grabbing that newly buffed Cramorant. These guys come online way too early for Tyranitar to be useful, and that's kind of the strategy that we're seeing from Last Hope right now.
Right, no, and you know, I guess they're just being prepared here as well, just in case there is a Tyranitar. As you have mentioned, and we've been talking about this before the broadcast as well, that yes, Tyranitar might be, you know, buffed in right now, but there's still the evolutions that can easily counter them, especially in the early game, that make it, you know, make Tyranitar basically just not have any XP at all.
Yeah, I love this choice from God of Warriors 2 though, going for that Clefable, right? Because I think this is a Pokemon that has fallen out of favor a little bit because of the nerfs slightly, but gravity is insane into this Last Hope lineup. I think right now we're seeing a lot of Eldegoss, we're seeing a lot of Hooper, we're seeing a lot of Blissey. You know, Clefable taking a little bit of a seat on the bench right now, but this will be a very good return to glory if they're able to show up. This is the game for it. Rounding things up with a Scissor. We've seen a mix, right? Sometimes we see some... Oh, your jaw's dropping. You okay?
Yeah, no, sorry. I just noticed that the Cramorant, right? Like, Cramorant is one of the bigger Pokemon right now. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
but I saw the Cursed Incense.
Yeah.
As a counter to that of you know, healing prowess into that of the side of Gow2.
Yeah. Okay. Look, here's my concern, and this I don't know if you'll agree with me.
Okay.
I don't know if Cramorant is enough damage. That's what I'm worried about. Because look, you can proc the Cursed Incense with the booster, right? You bounce the different. It's cool. It's cute, right? It's a cute mechanic. But Cramorant, for me at least, it's a consistent damage dealer over the course of the game. It isn't something like an Espeon that can just pump up endless amounts of burst over and over and over. You really need to rely on your positioning. You're trying to kind of get the tag onto backliners. It's going to be a bit of a tricky game for the side of Last Hope, I feel. I'm definitely favoring God of Warriors.
No, yeah, I can totally see the draft here as well. We have the Blaziken. And the Slowbro as well is a really huge counter, especially into the very mobile Pokemon such as, like, you know, the Trevenant. We have, it's not mobile, but you know, it has that kind of like tankiness in it that that is like one of their biggest win con here that I can see, right? Like if the Trevenant won't be able to line it up, then they would be scattered around and would have a huge chance to be taken out by Gow2.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on the Trevenant's back, but I feel like that's been the entire story of a lot of these Trevenant picks. We've seen time and time again, this Pokemon, whether you're playing it in the top path as a more sort of core-focused Pokemon, or whether you're running EXP share and running it as a support in the bot path as a tank, it's just so much utility between the Horn Leech, Woodhammer, being able to get up in there and set up for the team. Already getting some very nice early dunks off. That's that early power spiking Leafeon that we mentioned. Turn around, drive-by, slap down the Torchic. That's a great start.
That is definitely a great start, you know, just making sure that you're pressuring up your opponents, not really giving any care against them, just putting in your points, getting your level 4, and Solar Blade just riles them up all day, all long.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful part that we're seeing here is that Gossifleur has that initial red buff, right?
Yeah.
So it's allowing it to do just that much more harass. Doesn't really influence the Mimikyu because of that EXP share. Huge swathe of just the birds being swiped away by the Solar Blade. And here comes the Cramorant for a clean rotation. Oh, beautiful! That last little claw snips him on the back of the wing. And this is starting to become a bit of a problem up here for God of Warriors. Slowbro joining the fray here with the surf, but it's not going to be enough enough, JJ.
Yeah, it is definitely not going to be enough. Not quite yet. It's still an early game, so GOW2 here might still be able to catch up. But at the very least, Last Hope here knows that this is not their last game, that they know when to disengage and know when to proc in. And here we go. We're going to be seeing another clash here into that of the central area.
Yeah, actually going for the air slash, trying to find an avenue over the wall. Maybe didn't press the eject button in time. Not really sure what that was about. Doesn't manage to successfully fake out their opponents and unfortunately goes down there. So over-aggression gone wrong. That's going to allow the central area, Swablues and Altaria to largely go over to God of Warriors 2. Much needed recovery EXP.
And here we have it as well. You know, like bust out my IGN here, just really trying to get in as much XP as possible to be able to help down even more into another team fight. But as we can see on the score as well, it's 106 to 9. Yeah, that's a huge gap in the early game.
Absolutely. I think they've done a very good job in terms of pressuring the top half. The real only shining light for me at this moment is the Sylveon. We haven't really seen them involved, gone for the Hyper Voice build. We've seen a bit of a mix-up, right? Sometimes Sylveons in that top half go for the Mystical Fire instead. And the curious thing is that throughout this patch, none of the evolutions were touched, so they're still as strong as ever, JJ.
I mean, aside from the Glaceon, but even then, it's not as much.
It's alright, you know? I think especially if you're up against some tanky Pokemon, you'll still go back for that evolution. It's just the premier damage dealer on that front. But objective spawning in just about 5 seconds here, JJ. We're gonna see a bit of a clash.
Yes, sir, and it looks like Last Hope here has the positional advantage instead of the Reggie bottom here with the Regirock. And look at them, they're trying to proc this in, using it as a bait for Gow2 to come in. But are they, I think they're going to be able to take it. Yes, they will going to be able to take it. And they're trying to get in. Here comes the Emerald Dance though, but it's not going to be enough though. But the Solar Blade going to be able to take down that amazing Scyther. There you go.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that was just crazy stuff. It looked for a moment like Last Hope had the advantage in terms of position because the Trevenant was in just such a good spot. One Wood Hammer lands on the 3. I was just waiting for the follow-up, but it never came. God of Warriors were able to sneak through, take both Reggies, which is a huge spike for them considering how bad the early game went.
Yeah, but at the very least, right, like GOW2 doesn't really, minded that. It's more of a, they needed to get another objective here, which is why they are going to be getting in that of the Reggie. Like, they're going to have another fight here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right in the middle of it all, popping that Unite move. Was that a close combat from the Clefable? Throws out the hands. It doesn't mind that they're always up in the air. She's ready to deliver a backhand when she needs to. Slaps some backpack in, and that's what, like 3-4 Pokemon taken out in one fell swoop. Things are starting to heat up for Last Hope, and they just can't keep up.
No, this is what I'm talking about earlier, right? If there's, if the Trevenant is not there with them to help them out, line them up and make sure that they just have free hits into that of GOW2, they wouldn't have anything at all. And we just saw it right there. The Trevenant was down at the bottom path. There was nothing to tank out the damage, and GOW2 was able to sweep them up.
Yeah, it's starting to become apparent that the lack of control is biting Last Hope in the bum a bit. Sure, they have some damage, but especially when you have such solid frontliners like the Clefable and the Slowbro that you just can't push away, it prevents you from even getting on this Sylveon, who's just able to pump out damage from a very, very safe distance. Now, the Blaziken, perhaps overextending up here a bit. The overheat, a clean dodge thanks to that dive. Now, it's going to be God of Warriors 2 trying to reverse the pressure down here in this bot path, though.
But here you go, like Last Hope is really trying to do their best, trying to defend this versus Morgul, but unfortunately they don't have much of a damage, especially getting outnumbered here by GOW2. But here comes Basame IGN, going to be able to take down 2, maybe 3. Play with me, it's going to be popped up, it's going to be 2, 3 down right now. And here comes the follow-up, that's going to be 4 into the side of GOW2. 4 KO for Basame IGN.
Call in the chopper. You gotta pick up them bodies. The Pokemon faking left and right. God of Warriors just getting clapped. I mean, that was a clean rotation coming up from Buster May. And now he's gonna be able to try and pressure up this Regirock. They do have to be careful because Unite moves available for that Sylveon. Still trying to find an opening. The Hyper Voice is just a bit too much of a shred tool. But still huge Wood Hammers coming through. It's not gonna be enough to help them out though. Trading 1 for 1. The Scyther goes down. In response, they get the Mimikyu and are pushing forward.
Yes, sir, and this is what they wanted as well. I think there was a bit of a overextension into the side of Last Hope, and to be fair as well, like they were trying to defend the first Skorgel as much as they can to wait up for the Mimikyu, to answer back to GOW2. But after that, a bit of an overextension that GOW2 was able to just come back and eat them up.
Yeah, this is such an even game right now, JJ. The early game went so nicely for Last Hope. They were able to make optimal rotations, grabbing the advantages. But the first objectives, falling the way of God of Warriors 2, has evened up the score. Now both teams butting heads. It's really going to come down to the execution in the fight.
Yeah.
I think my eyes are going to be on this Slowbro, right? Who does he choose to unite move? Can he get his arms on the Mimikyu or the Leafeon before the play with me comes through and completely singles out the Scyther?
I mean, honestly, though, like any one of those getting caught in by the slow beam is going to be detrimental into that of Last Hope because then you wouldn't have enough damage to actually put up against
Wow!
And look
What
at that,
an
Emerald 2 is going to be
two-step.
taking down 2 Pokemon into the side of GOW2, trying to still push in, but no, they're not going to be stopping here, and only the Scyther is going to be able to get away.
That was disgusting. Look, we talked about the Trevenant being the only setup, but we're seeing why it's such a highly valued pick. Again and again, 3 to 4 man wood hammers. I don't know how he's allowed to get this off. I mean, at some point, God of Warriors 2, I know you want to stick together for that sweet, sweet moonlight healing, but you know who benefits from light? Plants. They love that.
True.
They're attracted to it. They'll send the hammer swinging your way and knock you out if you're not careful.
Right, and again, you know, if you're lined up there, Last Hope, everyone from there, especially the Sword Blade coming in, everyone's just going to be taking in all the damage from that with, of course, with the help of that Cramorant and the Mimikyu as well. But with that being said, in just 10 seconds, we're going to be seeing that of the Rayquaza.
Yeah, absolutely. A big problem for them is that the play with me and the Emerald 2-step don't appear to be up now. That's why you see Leafeon and Mimikyu scrambling for some wild Pokemon.
Oh, there we go. They were able to get
one.
the Emerald 2-step Unite move.
Yeah,
it's ready.
It's the play with me. It's the play with me that is so important, especially...
But Slowbro doesn't have any Unite, though.
Yeah, he has to find
thing.
it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why he's just kind of playing on the outskirts instead of being at the front. Both teams are very tense. 50 points is what separates them. Oh, kind of on their last leg, starting with initiation. Both tanks just butting heads, nothing too committal. Just playing around, trying to force some sort of a reaction, JJ. It's actually, we didn't mention this just yet, but it's a Surf Telekinesis build, so even more catch for this Slowbro.
Or cloud control.
Absolutely.
There we go, and it looks like GOW2, I think that they are in the lead and just, you know, trying to, use the Rayquaza as the bait for Last Hope to get in.
Yeah, I mean, Last Hope, they're going to get a notice in just about 15 seconds that they are in a very comfortable position. The question is whether God of Warriors can act on it. We already talked about the Sylveon objective ripping potential along with the Blazer.
Oh, the telekinesis!
Caught the Trevenant. In comes the drive and they send him home. Trevenant down. It's a big problem. No more wood hammers and no more Last Hope. Stranded now. Here comes the Mimikyu trying to play with somebody. Gets at least the KO on the Scyther. Takes out the Blaziken as well. Starting to turn things around, but the Sylveon, big bad Sylveon, shouts at them, tells them, get out of here. You don't belong in this game anymore.
Oh, wow.
Two members coming through. Might be a bit of a mistake though. They're trying to hold him out, trying to get the dunks, but here come the jump pad through, JJ.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, like they don't have enough of a time or even the damage to take down the Rayquaza. But that's why they are opting in for a split push. You're going to be able to take down 100 points here, and GOW2, just like that, is now leading into the points.
Last Hope, they need to go for a dunk. They can't afford to go for the Ray. It's a bit too late. They just don't have the comp that can shred this up. They even use the Phantom Forest to try and make it work. All the Unite moves, everything in the kitchen sink thrown at this legendary Pokemon. But you do not have the time. Look at your watches, ladies and gentlemen. 5 more seconds, and its hope is gone. Last Hope, they don't even get the Ray. The Clefable snatches it, and God of Warriors 2, this is why this organization is so feared. It doesn't matter what you do. The Ray is where they thrive. And in the last few moments of chaos, we thought it was a bit of a misplay. We thought those two support tanks dunking in the bot path, but giving them a bit of a red herring and dunking in that 100 points with the Sylveon. So risky.
No,
it pays off.
But it worked. It's a huge risk, huge reward kind of a play. And at the same time, this is what we mentioned as well, right? Like that's why, the Taiwanese teams are really scared of playing against GOW2 because it doesn't matter, as we have mentioned, it doesn't matter what you do in the early game, in the mid game, they're always prepared into that of the Ray Pit. And I like what they did with the Ray Pit. It doesn't matter if they were on the leading end or on the deficit end because they had the complete control of the Rayquaza, the Ray Pit.
Yeah, and I think the main thing in that final fight that we noticed is, again, what you've been mentioning this entire game. A large reason why Kafkaesque was even able to land so many killer setups is because the lineup of God of Warriors thrives from running into you. They need to ball up and they need to charge at you. But in those final moments, God of Warriors took a little bit of a chill pill, took a moment to breathe. And suddenly you're seeing Kafka just kind of, hey, where's my targets? Where do I set up? Where do I even plant this Phantom Forest? It didn't end up happening that way. And even though we didn't call it out during the game, I'm sure that that gravity selection from Sasuke really tempered with what Ramsey, Bastame, and Yao Yao were trying to do throughout the entire game.
And at the same time, like the Trevenant was trying to, as I mentioned, it was trying to like find where they're at, and then immediately use
So,
yeah,
in that previous game.
it was good.
Ramsey was
good.
looking nice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is the early solar blades. I think if they were timed, not that they were timed badly, but there were a couple of moments where opponent Pokemon got away with a very, very low sliver of
Yeah,
HP.
yeah,
And
yeah.
if that difference was made through maybe a few more auto attacks or just a bit more damage, this entire trajectory for God of Warriors 2 looks very different.
Right, and I like the bans here as well coming from Last Hope because they're not they're gonna be banning Zoroark because let's be honest though, like Taiwan is a region.
It's
right?
a Zoroark
Taiwan
region.
It's a Zoroark
It's a
region,
Zoroark
right?
region.
Exactly. So they really need to ban it out, but at the same time, I do like the fact that they are respect banning that of the Blaziken. And same case, you know, GOW2 cannot have the Tyranitar and the Leafeon respect ban against that of Ramsey. But starting off, we're gonna have the Blissey and the Umbreon gonna be picked out here by GOW2.
This is pretty interesting stuff because we've seen a bit of a mix-up in terms of builds that Umbreons go for. You can either go for that more initiator disruption build with the foul play, or we've seen a lot of Umbreons also go for the Wish, which does so much, and you can kind of function as a pseudo-healer.
Yes.
It's interesting to me that Last Hope decide to grab that Blissey first. I think that's what's raising my eyebrows the most, because they could have gone for the Trevenant. Maybe they're confident
First,
that, okay, you already have the Umbreon on the God of Warriors side, you're not going to pick a secondary support, sorry, secondary tank, and we have more sort of leverage there. But going for that Delphos to deny the healing.
It's actually quite interesting as well because we know for a fact that, you know, basing on game number 1, right? Like God of War 2 here already knows and acknowledges this Trevenant, what it can do and what it's definitely going to be doing for that of Last Hope. So it's really quite interesting to see that they are still running in that. I mean, not to say that Trevenant is not good. Yeah. But the way that they played it is something that is already read here by GOW2.
Wow, this is... We talked about switching things up, and this is definitely a switch out if I've ever seen one. Ramsey going for that Venusaur and Buster May for that Dodrio. I think I like this a lot, but they're going to round things up with the big muscles on Machamp. How are you feeling about JJ? You let out a bit of a groan. What was that about?
It is more of a, like, see, the way that I see Last Hope's composition here, right? Is well, they're actually going back with the Blissey Venusaur, right? Yeah. But after that, right? It's I don't think they have enough of a like a potential prowess instead of a team fight. Sure, there is a Venusaur. Sure, there is that of Delphox. But other than that, it's I think they're heavily relying more into that of the crowd control, which is good as well. Yeah. But with the composition of God of Warriors 2 here, I think this is more balanced than that of Last Hope because I think it's leaning more towards that of a what do you call this? Like it's forcing the issue, right? Sure. But the thing is, GOW2 already recognizes even on game number 1.
Look, I like what you mentioned about forcing the issue because we already know both God of Warriors 2 as well as the original God of Warriors team, Taiwan Top 16. They are excellent at pressuring their opponents.
And baiting.
And exactly, and pushing things forward. However, I think that if there's a game for Last Hope to win, it's going to be this one. I love the way the draft is conducted because they recognize the Ray Pit is a problem. So what do? They put an impenetrable front object in the Venusaur. If things go wrong, you have Blissey backing him up, and he kind of acts as a bit of a magnet, right? Because everyone's going to cluster all over this Venusaur on the opposing team. Easy wood hammer setups. Not to mention, if you're not finding anyone yet and you're dangling this giant piece of Venusaur bait in front of your opponents and they're not biting, you have the Dodrio to poke from the side and try attack. And you have Fire Spin to scout. Can you imagine if the entire team from God of Warriors who is hiding in one brush and a Fire Spin just rips them all up? Suddenly you put the fireworks. I'll tell you, God of Warriors will not be celebrating. I know the Taiwanese love their fireworks, but that's not going to be one that they enjoy.
Oh no, yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, again, like Last Hope here definitely has a huge, a very huge crowd control potential here. But God of Warriors 2 here is, I think they already noticed and already acknowledged this as well, that they need to, as you have mentioned, not shake themselves anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I think they have, you know, they kind of put all their ideas into the blender in that game, number one, and then they took it out, and now it's a nicely formatted smoothie. You know, now it's time to save. Now it's time to run it back the way that you did a couple seasons ago, right? This is a strategy that goes back ever since the start of Pokemon Unite. As soon as Blissey was released, this was everywhere. I mean, hell, even before the Blissey release, it was Eldegoss with Leaf Tornado.
Yes,
and you run in forward. Oh, you know, I mean, nothing that'll beat us so much more than Leaves, but throw some of them out here. Some of the early EXP going the way of God of Warriors 2. Again, good early rotations. They seem to kind of follow a bit of a timer on when they want to come up here with their attacker.
Which is really good as well. Like, you know, like Last Hope earlier in game number 1, they were mostly pressuring up that top path, but GOW2 immediately, you know, recognizes that, okay, they're going to go into the top path, try to control it immediately, but now it is seemingly like, at least like on an equilibrium, if not, you know, right now, the Machamp here trying to be a champion, trying to get that one score.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how they're going to try and make this Machamp work. It's definitely an interesting pick that feels more like a specialty player thing than something that is necessarily worked into this draft. It's cool to see because it just means that this top path player on God of Warriors probably has a lot of confidence in himself.
That is true. But here you go. I mean, we had to like acknowledge as well that, you know, the Machamp here has a lot of crowd control prowess, and at the same time, it's not a lot of like. I think it's more of a counter towards that of a crowd control, because especially with submission, right? It is unstoppable. So like, there might be a lot of crowd controls, but they're not going to be catching a lot into the side of GOW2.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to how this Machamp positions, because if you're running in and your team isn't ready to follow up on your submission, you're just submitting yourself to Petal Dance, which isn't going to work out for you. We see a bit of a switch up in the Umbreon sort of priorities here, going for the mean look instead this time round. For the setup for the Hyper Voice, really, it's an ability that just feels so cruel, because you keep someone there, they can't do anything about it. Even eject button is not going to bail you out of that situation.
No, yeah, but, you know, mean look here is definitely going to be, you know, providing a lot of problem here to the side of the Last Hope, especially the Dodrio as well.
Yeah, starting to rip up this early Regice already. That is one of the power points of the God of Warriors lineup. Gonna keep things going. A lot of space being created by this Umbreon, and it's just so easy. I mean, they've done this last game already. We saw it happen, and a bit of deja vu starting to set in from EJJ as they break open that tier 1 goal zone.
And it's really going to be like more interesting as well, right? Like, it is, as I mentioned, what happened earlier, but at the same time, GOW2 is making sure that, you know, yeah, we still have someone up top here to make sure that we defend our top path, but at the same time, here you go, another team fight here. Bliss, they popped up here. They're going to be able to take down 2 into the side of GOW2. It might be the revenge that Last Hope is hoping for, and that's going to be 3 down now, and finally going to be able to destroy the first score goal up top by GOW2.
That was a very flubby attempt. God of Warriors 2, they see this Venusaur and they're like, yeah, okay, we'll take him down, but they half commit to it. They don't fully focus him down, and it's a huge problem when the Bliss assistance comes in. We're seeing exactly how this combination works. If this is your first time, well, welcome to what was the entirety of Season 1 and Season 2. Because it's been disgusting before, it's still disgusting here,
now.
And it's in the middle of things. Burden Anger coming through, but can't survive. Finally, the full commitment is enough for God of Warriors 2. They're still trying to hang on to this goal zone and prevent Regieleki from coming through. Here comes the Machamp cross-chopping in, but just gets Horn Leech up. They're starting to run out of HP and resources. Mystical Fire coming through from the sidelines. The Delphox just raining away the damage. And the last member remaining, the Scyther, caught by a Fire Spin, chopped down by the Wood Hammer, and nowhere else to run the shields, keeping him intact though. The Regieleki still can't get into the goal zone. And finally, Last Hope, they need to back up.
Oh man, the Scyther was just amazing, making sure that they can defend the second tier score goal and survive themselves, buying a lot of time for their teammates to actually respond back so that they can move a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, more than anything, Last Hope, you can't really blame them for sticking around for so long. They want to push the issue. But I think much respect to them as well, because I think that's sometimes where teams falter, where they feel like, oh, you know, we should really try and get the most out of this Regieleki, and then you step too far forward, you give over a couple of key KOs. They still kept things relatively even. Kafka tried to come through for steal, unfortunately couldn't find it. And this is going to be a problem again, because God of Warriors once again have a lineup that excels at ripping up.
Oh, look at that! The mean look, and this is what I'm talking about earlier, you know, like, it is very mobile, the Dodrio, but with one mean look, it won't be able to get away anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this mean look is just excellent this particular game, right? I think it does so much. We'll have to see how it plays out in the later stages of the fights. We mentioned that Last Hope already has a lineup that looks a lot more promising at the Ray Pit. but this mean look can just turn things around. I mean, this
Yes.
single-handedly, this ability.
I mean, there's only two ways for you to be able to get out of Mean Look. Number one is to predict it and use a full heal, or be as a reward.
Yeah.
Which none of the Pokemon are for Last Hope.
That's not even an option. Well, here comes Venusaur trying to get that objective. There's a huge dunk, but they've already taken down the Venusaur. A bit of split priorities, causing them to just get wiped out. God of Warriors pounce on that slight bit of hubris. Last Hope, what are you doing there without your Trevenant?
Yes, sirree, and it is not going to stop there, not right now, as they're going to be able to take down the Trevenant once again. It's not going to help them, you know, coming back up, responding, because God of Warriors 2 is just eating them up, but not right there. They're going to be able to answer back, going to be able to take down one. The Machamp's going to be going down, and that of the Mean Look is not going to help them at all, as the Umbreon is going to be taken out as well.
This is the mistake that Last Hope avoided making in that Tier 2 top path, but God of Warriors fall for the bait. They don't respect the slow respawn timers, and when the Blissey and the Venusaur come back, it's just the easiest Bliss assistance of their life there. Cleans them up, they don't have the damage, not on the goal pad, to take this Pokemon down, and they need to be so much more careful. They need to make sure that this Venusaur is in a compromising position before jumping, because if the entire team is there to back them up, you're not getting it.
Oh yeah, but we see here as well that Regice is now down bottom. It seems as if like Last Hope has the positional advantage, might be able to take this, the first objective that they're going to have in the entire set. You know, game number one, they didn't have any primary objectives, but this time, this is going to be the first one, Regice.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that this is their first objective, but all things considered, EXP-wise, it's not like they're so far behind.
Yeah.
I really like this sort of new adaptation because it feels like for the entire time in last meta where we saw Delphox, it was always that Fire Blast, Fire Spin. But now, with that recent nerf to Fire Blast and Fire Blast Plus, Mystical Fire just means that you have way more uptime on your Fire Spin. Because Fire Spin was also nerfed, had a bit of a cooldown increase. But if you're just consistently reducing the cooldown with the Mystical Fire, it's the same thing.
It is definitely the same thing. And speaking of same thing, here we have it. The same thing that GOW is hoping for, the Rayquaza, and now trying to scout Last Hope for where they are at the tall grasses.
Kafka, he needs to try and learn from his previous mistakes there.
Oh, the Mean Look!
Nah, it's way too deep. I mean, you can't really afford to run into this trope. That is just firework heaven. And that's what Kafka's trying to bait them into, which is why you see Fen on that Umbreon just hiding off to the side. He knows that he can't breach anywhere past. That is just the no-fly zone. You can't.
That's true.
It has to be a full commitment, and you know, you're running in there, it's going to be an easy Verdant Anger. No one on your team can survive that. So just poking away for now. Again, the 1 minute mark notice is so important because it informs the teams about their current standing. If they weren't keeping track of the score then, they'll know. But
here we go.
Breaking out. Woodhammer in, and oh no, it's the Umbreon that goes down this time round. Charging forward on that Venusaur. They can't stop the tank. In comes Ramsey, mopping them up. The Machamp trying to stand on the door of Verdant Anger. Someone's unhappy with this situation, and it's going to be the Venusaur coming out on top with the help of the Trevenant. Here comes the backhand though, the Scyther, ready to try and flip the tides. This is what God of Warriors are so good at, and they get themselves the advantage. Now it's the Venusaur and company that need to make a move. If not, they're going to be the ones that are behind, and they are going to be out of the tournament, JJ.
And look at this as well. The spawn timer is going to be coming up as well. Everyone from God of Warriors 2 is now up as well. Going into the raid fight, only 30 seconds left. They need, Last Hope needs to rip this up right now if they want to win. But the problem is, God of Warriors 2 is complete as well. Now here we have it, another clash coming in.
Full focus in, very frolic, triple trample.
There we go! God of Warriors 2!
Snatches it away again. You just can't beat them at the Ray. It's too clean. You're walking into their territory. And Last Hope, you might be saying Mabuhay in your questionnaire, but now you're going to be saying goodbye to this tournament. The lower bracket round ends as soon as it started. A bit of a heartbreak for the Filipino fans watching to try and cheer for their fellow team members and their friends. But unfortunately, it was too clean. It's too clean. God of Warriors 2 was seeing a level of play and decision-making at that Ray pit that's just so precise. They are so nonchalant about it.
It is so precise coming from GOW2, and this is the reputation that they earned as well. And even SAR, even Shin and Rode, you know, the big dogs of Taiwan, aren't even scared of going against a GOW2 because of this. And we've seen it for 2 games in a row.
Bro, the second that little that little boilerplate at the top
Yeah.
that tells you the time turns yellow.
Yeah.
Lock in. It's like Super Saiyan. They just turn on. You ever see Pikachu when Ash just kind of tells him to lock in and then he just starts glowing yellow? That's exactly what happens.
When the enemy team comes in.
Yeah, what just happened? Can you imagine in that moment when so much chaos is happening, you're unclear whether you can win the fight.
Yeah.
Macham's like, man, I can't work this Venusaur down. Saito's like, I got it, homie. So 100, they just find little openings to slip through and be so annoying. You just can't cover all your bases. And all respect to Last Hope, because I think this draft
Was actually pretty okay.
It was actually pretty okay. My main kind of, the part that disappointed me a bit, to be honest, not to point fingers, but I think Buster May, for the insane game 1 that he had on Mimikyu, this Dodrio performance wasn't really hitting for me. That's kind of where I'm coming, right? Like, I think whenever you think about Dodrio, you're thinking about this Pokemon that just kind of runs circles around your opponent.
Hit and run,
but
basically.
Yeah, but you called it out. The mean look. What you gonna do?
Exactly, dude. Like, it's the moment that you get mean look, I mean, you're gonna get